A recent post from Zack Snyder has once again opened the floodgates for a potential revival of the Snyderverse. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Please like, share and subscribe for more. But as it goes, this post has again opened the floodgates for a potential Snyderverse revival, especially in the wake of reports claiming that WB might be up for sale, and Netflix being a potential bidder. Taking to his IG, Zack Snyder shared a throwback to his DCU days. Having joined the platform just 3 weeks ago, his recent post featured a black-and-white shot of Henry Cavill's Superman from Dawn of Justice, reminiscent of Snyder's signature aesthetic. In usual fashion, the director deemed Cavill his Superman, an entirely reasonable sentiment. While this potential buyout could prove to be more harm than good, if realized, as WB's prestige IPs under Netflix would likely miss the big screens entirely, this could bode well for the Snyderverse. Given Snyder's ever-growing working relationship with the streamer, what might have seemed like a distant thought in the past seems entirely possible if the execs at Netflix opt to give Snyder the keys once again. Then again, given the successful start to the DCU, it'd be silly to abruptly drop James Gunn's plans for a cohesive and creative-driven DC universe. Although Variety reported that Warner Bros. Discovery rejected Paramount's bid to acquire the media behemoth, a potential bidding war isn't out of the cards, at least not yet. A few weeks ago, Puck broke the news that Netflix might be eyeing to acquire the conglomerate, which isn't surprising given the stature of the streaming giant. The Rebel Moon filmmaker is no stranger to adapting deconstructions of superheroes, as he was allowed to helm Alan Moore's prestigious Watchmen, albeit to mixed results. Snyder also expressed his desire to adapt another prestigious comic run, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, also notable for deconstructing its heroes. In a 2023 interview, he said, via THR, "The thing about Dark Knight Returns is it is literally Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, and the deconstruction is so obvious and so palpable. When I read that book I was completely laid bare, everything I thought about superheroes. For me, it's the greatest comic book ever written. If I could do that, then I will have done Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, and I would be pretty much done with superheroes." Considering Snyder and Gunn, unlike their fans, get along well in real life, with Gunn currently in charge of DC, who remains open to DC Elseworld stories, maybe in the foreseeable future, Snyder's DC dream could be realized. Would you love to see Snyder return to DC? Although the prospect of a potential Snyderverse revival remains slim, this doesn't eliminate the possibility of another Snyder-driven DC movie, even if a merger with Netflix doesn't transpire. DCU director James Gunn voiced his character in Rick and Morty and came face-to-face with DCU director Zack Snyder in the animated show. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Please like, share and subscribe for more. James Gunn hops down to the Warner Bros. Cafeteria to grab some food, where he runs into a jacked-up Zack Snyder eating a box of creatine for lunch. The two have some back-and-forth talk wherein Zack Snyder takes the opportunity to tease James Gunn about Superman. It was a sunny morning when DCU director James Gunn found himself in a recording booth for Rick and Morty, where he was asked to voice himself in Season 8 Episode 7 of the show, Ricker Than Fiction. Gunn wasn't alone, as Zack Snyder, the man known for directing DCU movies like Man of Steel and Zack Snyder's Justice League, was also going to be a part of that episode. The two would go head-to-head in the animated episode at the Warner Bros. Cafeteria, where the verbal fights are devastating. While speaking with Variety, executive producer Scott Marder revealed that both guys were very good sports when they came in for their recording sessions. Zack Snyder and James Gunn also subtly implied that they both watched Rick and Morty during their downtime. Both of those guys sort of implied that this is the show they watch when they have downtime. So they were thrilled to get to be a part of the world, and there was no pushback or bristling. Marder continued, "If anything, they laughed at anything we threw at them. There were probably, frankly, even more digs and more silly things we could have used. All they did was laugh it off." Being a part of the Rick and Morty universe came with its perks and insults, as one iconic scene from the episode showed James Gunn and Zack Snyder coming face-to-face at the Warner Bros. Cafeteria, and they talk about Gunn's upcoming film Superman. "Just saw your new cut of Superman," says Zack Snyder to James Gunn. "And word of advice, he's the Man of Steel, not the man of conversation. Do more shots of him punching." Snyder is obviously referring to how talkative David Corenswet's Superman appears to be in the trailer for the James Gunn flick. Although it was just a joke, Zack Snyder and James Gunn both took it very lightly and even added in some of their own punches which weren't in the script to create possibly one of the funniest banters between two frenemies in Rick and Morty. Of course, the dialogues were scripted and Gunn and Snyder were both aware of it. However, it simply felt good to see Zack Snyder teach something to James Gunn, even though the latter did not ask for it. This is a very rough estimate by Box Office Theory, which hints at the possibility that Superman might just turn out to be better than Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Personally speaking, we do think that James Gunn's Superman will outperform Zack Snyder's Man of Steel because, unlike the 2013 movie, Superman is family-friendly and aimed towards hope and fighting spirit instead of Snyder's darker take on the reclusivity of hope and choosing lesser evil over greater. However, we'll know for sure when Superman debuts in theaters very soon, but until then, nothing can be confirmed or denied at the moment. Do you think James Gunn's Superman will be able to beat Zack Snyder's Man of Steel? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. According to the numbers, Man of Steel had a debut opening at $116 million back in 2013. Considering the THR report, Superman will allegedly have a debut opening of somewhere between $125 to $145 million, which easily puts it at an advantage. Zack Snyder managed to fire up fans of James Gunn's DCU with yet another image of Henry Cavill from his DCU days. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Please like, share and subscribe for more. Despite the DCU being relegated to the history books, it seems like Zack Snyder is reliving the nostalgia through his Instagram. For a while now, the filmmaker has been posting BTS images of DCU stars as their respective characters, where he again posted an image of Henry Cavill as Superman. When the DCU was on its last legs after Snyder's exit, hope emerged in the form of Henry Cavill, who was revealed to be back as Superman in the franchise. But just as quickly, the hope was snuffed when James Gunn and Peter Safran were named co-CEOs of the new DC studios. This also marked the end of the star's days as the Man of Steel. And in an episode of the Happy Sad Confused podcast, Gunn himself revealed how hard it was for him to inform the star that he was not a part of the DCU. But at the same time, the filmmaker also revealed that he may not bring Cavill back as Superman, but still would like to have him in the franchise, saying, "Absolutely not. I would love to put Henry in something." Therefore, it doesn't seem like DC is done with Cavill just yet. And with Peacemaker Season 2 opening the gates for the DCU multiverse, we might finally get Cavill in the franchise soon. And with James Gunn leading the new DCU at Warner Bros. Discovery, he has amassed a loyal fan following who are now pissed at Snyder for his recent post. But they should keep in mind that, despite Cavill not being Superman anymore, he still has a chance of returning to DC. The approach of returning to the golden era of comic books, a stark contrast to the dark and gritty approach Snyder took with the DCU, allows fans to experience a fresh approach to superhero cinema. At the same time, the declining quality of the MCU in terms of its narratives and quality helped the audience